Welcome to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, a game that I've been recommended more than basically any other game ever. This game has been in early access since March of 2019 and built a strong and passionate group of fans that love the game and the collaborative nature of its Slovakian developer, 3 Division. And today it's emerging from early access, so it seems as good a day as any to showcase it and see if it's any good. If you're unfamiliar with this game, it's a city builder in which you build a Soviet republic from an impoverished country to a rich industrial superpower. It's set during the Cold War and meant to simulate the economy of a communist state, rather than capitalist societies like most modern city builders. So even though this is a city builder at its core, it's not a City Skylines clone by any stretch of the imagination. You're not going to zone things, you're going to place them. You're not going to leave things forever, you're going to demolish them and improve them over time. And the goal isn't to make a boatload of money, it's to keep your citizens happy and productive and your logistics chains running smoothly. This game has a super deep simulation that dives into urban planning, logistics, and basically every mode of transportation that you can think of. This is a game that requires you to think about not just the big picture, but also the small details. And to that end, this game is very customizable. If you play a custom game, you can play on a pre-made map or even generate your own. You can set the game to be as difficult as you want and enable and disable functionality as you see fit. It also has cool features like seasons, global events, and the ability to progress through time, and even set your starting year. Additionally, the game has Steam Workshop support and a workshop with over 9,000 great assets in it. That's a pretty impressive state of affairs for a version 1.0 game. Now, I gave this game a shot a couple of years ago and was admittedly pretty overwhelmed by the level of detail and the relative lack of instructions and tutorials for the game. So I put it down and stepped away to wait for it to bake a little bit longer. And now that we're at version 1.0 of the game, things have really changed. We've got a standalone tutorial mode and even a campaign mode that has tutorials built into it. So in this video, I want to begin a new campaign to see if this game lives up to the great reviews. And I want to see if an American city planner can build the next great Soviet republic. So come with me, comrades, as we start a new city in Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. And though this is not a sponsored video, I do want to thank the publisher Hooded Horse for providing me a copy to the game along with its first DLC, Biomes, which is releasing alongside of the 1.0 version of the game. And without any further ado, let's jump right in. We're kicking things off here in a new campaign, and the only campaign that's available to us, A New Republic is Born. And we're being greeted by Nikolai here, who is the second secretary of the Communist Party. He's going to guide us to making the greatest Soviet republic using the Soviet Union's outstanding architecture and factory designs. But first we have to learn the basics, like looking around the map and the controls, so we understand how things work here in our Soviet republic. So this was something that was not available the last time I played. It's great to see even the most basic of the basic controls being explained to us. And in general, you move around using the mouse buttons, the scroll wheels, the SAD W, and the X and C buttons to rotate around. Pretty standard city building fare. What is a little more interesting is we have this mini-map. And if we click on this little magnifying glass right here, we can see our mini-map. And if we hold onto this, we can resize it and make it a gigantic map if we prefer. But what's cool about the mini-map is you can see where you are and where you're looking, and you can move around the map and zoom around with this super sick animation. I love this so much. Great work, comrade. We have 2 neighbors, the USSR and Western countries. It's helpful to start building near one of these custom houses for easy and cheaper import or export. They're advising us to trade with the Soviet Union mostly. They take and pay in rubles, which you have more of. Plus, it will help strengthen the Soviet Union. However, we can also trade with Western countries. We just have to note that we have less foreign exchange reserves in dollars, so it might be better to save them for special Western vehicles instead of everyday expenses. Interesting. So this is the custom house at the Soviet border. To start trading, we need a road or railway connection, and then we can send vehicles to sell goods. We can trade with rubles in the Soviet border and dollars on the Western border. Currencies are separate. They cannot be exchanged due to Soviet restrictions. To get more dollars, we need to get them directly from the source by selling goods to Western countries. And with that, we've completed our first guide, though we can come back to this gentleman at any time. And there are other colleagues that we get to talk to as we learn how to play the game. So this is our little tree of learning, and I love this. This is exactly what is necessary in a game this complex. So we can, obviously, the first one is going to be urban planning basics. We have to learn how to build a city, but then we get to kind of choose our own adventure and learn about different mechanics that the game offers, and we can slowly become masters of those mechanics. Let's begin with urban planning because we have to, and we'll build a simple city where the needs of our citizens will be fulfilled. Greetings, comrade. This is Mikolai, our chief architect and city planner of our Soviet Republic. He will show us the basic knowledge you should know when you plan a new city. That's something I'm interested in finding out. At the bottom of the main screen, you can find the main bar where you can find all you can build, from infrastructure to buildings and various decorations. So hopefully we can do a little bit of landscaping and detailing. First thing we have to do, though, is build a road network, create a basic grid, build at least 750 meters of roads. Remember, we'll be placing buildings around them later, so we'll have to leave enough free space between the roads to build those buildings. Now, we were advised to build near this customs house, but there's already a town here and I don't want to rival it, so I think I want to look around the map a little bit and see if there's any piece of land that really strikes my fancy. Not gonna lie, this looks like a really impressive piece of land right there. We've got a small isthmus right there, which speaks to me as a Madisonian. This too, that is super cool. I think we're gonna do it. we're gonna break the law and we're gonna build right over here. Let's look at our terrain though. We've got the topography view right here, and this is as flat as a pancake. Exactly what I was hoping for. We'll send the road down here and connect up with that customs house way over there. So let's build a road. And that's our first option here. Right here, we've got a number of roads available to us. They want us to build a basic asphalt road. And I'll put that right about here. And we're cutting against the terrain, which is great. Now, I think we're going to blast past the 750 meters because we're going to try to make a connection to our customs house. Now, I want to connect up these two roads right here. So I'm going to select this node and link it up to this. And look, that angle is terrible. If I adjust and scroll with my mouse wheel, I can adjust the angle and find just the perfect curvature for this. And I want something very gradual. That looks good to me. And kind of as I suspected, we now have our next objective, and that is to build some residential buildings. So we'll take a break from that. I believe that we just click on our objectives over here to get back to this when we want to. And in the meantime, let's connect up to our customs house. Now, I believe we've got one custom house over here and one right over here. So maybe we'll link up to this one. It's Soviet, so that should be okay. And when we go into our roads menu, we can see exactly where we're supposed to link up. And I'm starting to feel like I made a very poor choice. We have to go all the way around this bay to get over there, but we're going to make it happen. Now, one thing I could have done is if I hold down the right mouse button, I can actually do grading while I'm building roads, which is a really unique and cool feature. I didn't do that, and as a result, we are disrespecting the topography, and we've got to fix that. We cannot leave this. So I held the right mouse button there, and you can see that it built the road up. And as you can imagine, that is incredibly helpful for rails, but even for roads, if you don't want to bridge it like that, wow, so easy to build that absolutely perfect grade right there for our road. Now, they want us to build 500 flats as part of our next objective, but we still need to build out our community. All we have is a road coming here, and this is going to be our main drag. So the last thing that we're going to want to do is just place all of our homes off from this. Might have some businesses on this road, considering it has easy access to everything. So I'm going to draw a road off from here. And then because I'm not 100% sure the size of buildings that we're going to be using, I'll build a small grid off from here, but nothing all that big. And I just love the animations that we see as the roads get built. It just looks really great. So going into objectives, once again, build the flats for the first 500 citizens. And to do that, we have this little arrow here going to residential areas, and then these large residential buildings and these brick flats. So these are 22,000 rubles, and we've only spent about 300,000. So it seems rational at this point. Now to move this around 90 degrees, we hit the R button and it just snaps like that. And it's nice and straight. We can also use the scroll wheel to rotate the building. And if we hit the left control button, we can have really fine-grained movements of our buildings. Now, I want to point out one thing. you can see that there is the road connection that we need to make from this building to our road, but there are also a number of pedestrian access points. And that's because pedestrianism is like king in this game. It is so important, and adding paths of a variety of types is really satisfying. So we're gonna build these, and then we're gonna connect everything up with paths. All right, and now our population is over 700. So for our next objective, we need to build a shopping center. The basic needs of every citizen are food, meat, and clothing. So we're gonna build a shopping center, small or big, where our citizens can find all of these. There are also small stores available that sell clothing and electronics, or small grocery stores that sell food and meat. But for this objective, let's build a shopping center. A little loop like that, and then maybe this can be our main plaza, and we'll have many of our city services and shopping and different things like that around here. Now, the thing I like about this is just imagine the view that we're gonna get. Oh, that's gonna be amazing, so long as we don't block it. Maybe we'll put a statue or something like that down here. And then we have our small shopping center right here, 14,666 rubles for this. So let's go ahead and place that right here. And it is complete. I can see our shopping center can be reached from all residential buildings. Good work. But don't forget, if our shopping center cannot be reached by every residential building, our citizens will complain. They're just walking along the side of the road right there. That's not great. Don't love that. Okay, the next option says alcohol. Let's think, what's needed for a prosperous and happy Soviet society? Right, it's alcohol. Let's build a pub or two the same way as we made the shopping center. Ensure all residential buildings have access to it by foot. Note that when citizens visit a pub to drink alcohol, they will become addicted, okay? Alcohol increases happiness, but decreases health. It is up to you to decide if you still will provide alcohol to your citizens or not. Still, you can increase health in different ways. Important reminder, the pub requires a road connection for the delivery of goods. Before we build that though, I want to add a couple pedestrian connections. I know that we have people walking on the side of the road like this, and geez, it's just ridiculous. Everyone wants to go to the grocery store, and I love it. It's two ways that we could address this. We could go into our roads menu and grab a road that has streetlights and a sidewalk and just upgrade, and then people will walk on the sidewalk. The other thing that we could do is go under pedestrian options and add one of our paths, either just a muddy footpath all the way up to an asphalt footpath with lamps. I think I want to build a couple of these, and then after that, we will contemplate adding sidewalks. And I just love this level of granularity. And there we go. And look at, there are all of these different points that we can add pedestrian access to. And it's just, I really, really, really like that about this game. All right, we're going to add a pub, and we want to have pedestrian access to this. So we'll add our pub right here and continue our sidewalk network. And I think I just made that considerably more challenging than it had to be, but you know what? I just wanted to get the angles just right, and I think it looks a ton better. Now, we did get another objective while we were working on this, and they want us to build a sports field, and they want a football pitch. So I think we're going to build a couple of these. We'll make a park complex. Now, one thing I really like about this game is that you can build these things and just give them pedestrian access, which feels very organic and natural. So I think that we'll build something over here, and then we'll provide some pedestrian access to these. And there we go. We've got a couple of soccer pitches. And while we were building those, we got another objective. Residential buildings have access to a cinema. So we've got to build a cinema so that we can provide our citizens with culture. I think we'll place that over here by our bar, because wouldn't you want to leave the bar and then go to the cinema? Oh no, I decided to delete this building in an effort to straighten it up. now it's still there. Okay, it's gone now. Finally, it takes a little while for things to decommission. So that's a good thing for me to keep in mind. Probably a kind of a vanity project, but the sidewalk wasn't connecting correctly, so I decided to move this a little bit. And honestly, I'm thinking I might move this over here closer to the grocery store now. And I'll back it out like that and just make that simple pedestrian connection between these. And oh my goodness, this is a game that triggers all of the worst parts of my personality. I can't help myself but try to make everything look absolutely perfect, and it's a skills problem. I don't have the skills to do it yet. I'm trying my best though. All right, next they want us to build a Soviet monument or 3. We have a variety of Soviet monuments. So 7,000 bucks and we can build this Soviet emblem. That seems like the kind of thing you want heading into your community. And then we have a Lenin statue. I think that we'll add that maybe in the middle right here. That's intimidating. And then finally, oh, I like this one, the Eternal Flame. And it'll be a cool place that they can visit by their homes. All right, our city planner says, let's make sure that there are enough people in our republic so that they are taken care of. Invite enough workers so that they fill our current residential buildings to at least 90% of their capacity. So for this, I believe we just have to click on buildings and invite some immigrants from the Soviet bloc into these buildings. So this costs 4,000 rubles and we can invite 10 immigrants from the Soviet bloc. So what I think we want to do is kind of load all of these buildings up to 90%. And there we go. Now we need to make sure that our workers are taken care of. We have to purchase goods for our stores so that each resource is filled to at least 50% of its capacity. And here's how we purchase resources using rubles. And it looks like we can store about 4.78 tons of food. For clothing, it's again 4.78 tons. For electronics, it's about 1.5 is what we need to get to. It's way higher than it needs to be. For meat, 0.75. And then we'll purchase that. Okay, so I think that this one is good. And the arrow, I don't think is actually pointing this menu. It's pointing to our bar. So let's go to this. So we'll get this up to 3.44. That's what we'll purchase. And that wasn't enough. We need a little bit more. Thank you, comrade, for your attention. I hope you learned how to build a city. I will be at hand should you ever need more information from me. You can access the government icon from the left panel to learn more. Regards, this chief architect and city planner. You know, I feel like I've learned a lot. I do. So here's where we get to choose our next adventure. And we can choose the basics of agriculture, emergency, Soviet university, or coal mining. Now, this little tree right here is really small, so I feel like it's the next one that we should try. Build facilities that will deal with emergencies in our republic. That makes sense. We don't want gigantic fires. Greetings, comrade. I'm Corelli, and I'm here to guide you through the importance of hospitals in the Soviet Republic. With a focus on public health and well-being, our hospitals stand as pillars of care and compassion, safeguarding the vitality of our nation and its citizens. Under state infrastructure, we've got emergency and a hospital. And this is a larger building. I'm going to place this again in our town square because that's where we're placing basically all of this. And I just want to look around and make sure that this building, it does have road access. So we're going to need that for our ambulances. And we'll put that right here next to our bar. So if you have a rough day at the bar, you can go right to the hospital. Now with this, I'm going to again redo my pedestrian paths because this game makes me a pedestrian maniac, more than I already am. And after construction was finished here, we got another goal, and that is to, number 1, have at least 3 doctors in the hospital, number 2, have at least 5 staff members in the hospital, and number 3, have at least 1 ambulance. So we have 3 different options for our ambulance. We've got one that's 900 rubles and one that's already all the way up to 1,200. It looks like the max speed for this one is 62 miles per hour. This one's 55. It's actually slower. And this one is also 55. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't go for this one. And we'll get 2 of these. It feels irresponsible to only have 1 ambulance. Well done, comrade. With the new hospital now operational and equipped with dedicated doctors and staff and ambulances, our citizens can receive timely and quality medical care. I advise you to keep an eye on the health level of our people displayed at the top bar of the screen. That's right here. We're looking pretty good, except for alcohol addiction. That's not good. We built a bar though, so it's to be expected. Monitoring their well-being will allow us to address any potential issues promptly and ensure the continued prosperity and vitality of the Soviet Republic. Next, we meet Federer, the chief firefighter of the Soviet Republic. With extensive experience in firefighting safety and disaster response, he'll be our guide in setting up operational fire stations and implementing effective fire prevention measures. So we've got to build a fire station, again, under state infrastructure. An emergency, we've got a fire station. Now for this one, I actually think that placing this on the arterial isn't necessarily a bad thing because it provides excellent access. But I don't want this to be right on top of these residential buildings. These would be very loud. So I'm going to place this a little ways away, and on the same side of the road is all of our commercial buildings. And then again, we can build pedestrian access to this. And there we go. We've rebuilt these sidewalks for about the 50th time. So we've spent about $1 million now, 1 million rubles. And I swear that we've spent most of those rubles rebuilding sidewalks. All right. And now our new objective is to get fire trucks at the fire station and firefighters as well. Looks like our fire engines are right here. We buy these the exact same way that we bought the ambulance. And this is 55 miles per hour max speed. 50 horsepower. This one is significantly more powerful, but has a slower maximum speed. I think we are going to buy one of each. We'll have, if we need the extra power, we'll have it available to us. But if we need the speed to respond to something far away, we'll have that as well. And now it's telling us that we need firefighters here, but I'm not 100% sure how to make that happen. And it's not really giving me a good indication of what I should be doing. So I'm going to speed things along and see if they just show up. They did. So now we've got 6 firefighters. All we had to do was wait. Someone will take the job. And that makes sense. Our unemployment rate is basically 50%. What a bad luck. It appears a fire started in one of our buildings, but at least we could witness our new fire trucks in action. Myrtle has already found us. Woo! Woo! We've got a fire. We've got a big fire over here. And yeah, our little quick truck definitely made it over here faster, but our secondary fire truck was deployed as well. I wonder if it's put out before this gets here or if this does most of the work. And look at that. If I click on this, I get a ton of details. Look at this. Okay, so this little fire truck is getting people out, I'm guessing, and this one actually put the fire out, so good to know. And wow, I know this guy's saying something to me, but I can see the odometer reading on the vehicles. That is insane. The RPM and the speed that it's moving at, this is a wild amount of detail. And this is the kind of thing that you either love or are intimidated by. And the thing that I like about this game is I can ignore this, I think I can ignore it. That's a lot of detail. Federer says recently we faced the stroke of bad luck as a building caught fire. However, thanks to our preparations, our firefighters swiftly responded, preventing the fire from spreading further, minimizing damage. Let this incident serve as a reminder of the importance of our vigilance and readiness to ensure the safety and security of the Soviet Republic. And there we go. We have completed emergency. So next up, we have 3 different paths that we can take. We've got coal mining, Soviet University, and the basics of agriculture. Now, it seems to me like agriculture is probably the best route. Food's important. It provides jobs. So we will set up an agriculture area to farm crops that can be used in food and other industries. Fields are the lifeblood of the Soviet Republic, where sowing and harvesting yields precious crops to feed our citizens. So we're going to place at least 10 fields. So the fields are found underneath food, alcohol, crops. And we've got 3 different field sizes, but they're pointing to the small one, which makes me think that that's one they want us to build. Now, looking at this field can accept 75 employees. We need 10 of these. That's 750, and we have 980 people. So the small fields are going to be the appropriate route for us. We don't have any cars, so nobody is going to be able to drive to our fields. So we do need to keep these relatively close to our community. And I mentioned in the intro that this is a game where you delete things and redo things. This is part of that. We're going to build these in a location that's going to kind of stink for the long term, but for now is going to be amazing. So we'll place these right here, right along the coast. And in the future, we'll probably need to get rid of these. Now, I'm using that gravel road as basically my local road for the farms. I'm going to send a collector up from here. And what this road has basically done is provided pedestrian access to all these different buildings. Even if people are walking on the side of the road, which obviously is not our ideal situation, it will allow them a way to get over here. And there we go, we placed our 10 fields. Now they say that farms in the Soviet Republic function as vehicle garages and storage spaces where mechanization sends out tractors for sowing, combines for harvesting, and covered trucks for collecting crops. So we are going to need a farm, and we can find that underneath food, alcohol, crops, and it's right next to the fields, and there is a small farm. I'm going to place this at the end of this road, and it looks like our contours, we've got to respect the topography, folks. So I'm going to build that right there temporarily. However, I want to redo this road. There, now we have a sweeping curve. So now we need to make sure that each of the fields are assigned to the farm. So I've clicked on the farm and I can assign new fields. Now, interestingly, it's saying that for some of these fields, in particular these 6 right here, there's no road connection. So I screwed something up. So I think I might need to actually redraw these in. Roads never were built. I'm not sure why. And there we go. We finally got those all assigned. I had the fields close enough to the roads that the little connector road couldn't show up, and I couldn't actually draw it either because it was too close. So very strange. Now we need to buy a tractor, combine, and trucks for the farm. So we've got exactly 1 combine and 1 tractor. So I guess we'll get each of those. And then for our trucks, we've got 5 options. Right here, this is a truck with almost no capacity for anything, but it goes 55 miles per hour. Some of these other ones have a huge capacity, but are much slower. I'm wondering, it seems like this is a compromise between them. We end up with a slow speed, but a decent capacity. We're fairly close to town, so I'm probably just go for this one. And those are all the vehicles that we need. Now, liquid fertilizer increases the yield of your fields. Liquid fertilizer is spread using tractors after fields are sowed. So we should be able to get that right here by purchasing resources using rubles. I'm not sure exactly how much we need, but we'll fill up half of this. And now we have to sow at least 10 fields. And it says that we can purchase more tractors to speed up the sowing process, which honestly, I don't know why we wouldn't do that. They seem relatively inexpensive. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll get 1 more. We've only got 2 more slots on our farm. And we may need 1 of them for a combine and maybe another one for another truck. So I don't want to overdo it. And you know, I'm getting the impression that I made the wrong call. It is so slow to sow the fields. I think maybe having another tractor would help us out. So we'll add another tractor and see if we can potentially sow some of these other fields. All right, comrades, the seeds are in the ground, and now we wait for harvest. Remember, together we'll make these fields flourish, and the Soviet Republic will thrive. When the time comes, the covered trucks will swiftly collect the crops and bring them to the farm. Keep working hard, and prosperity awaits us all. And just like that, we've completed farming, which is fantastic. Now, we could jump to another tree, but I think I want to do at least one more thing within our farming tree. We have either the food industry or the clothing industry. And I think that food probably makes more sense to begin. And we'll set up an industry to produce food and alcohol from our crops, so then we won't have to import this anymore. And greetings, comrade. I am Stalinslav, one of the driving forces behind the industrialization of food and alcohol manufacturing in our great Soviet Republic. I stand ready to guide you through the crucial mission of setting up our production of food and alcohol to ensure a steady supply of sustenance and spirits to our citizens. The food factory stands as a pivotal site in the Soviet Republic where harvested crops are efficiently processed, transforming raw produce into essential foodstuffs for our citizens. So indeed, factory time. So the first thing we need to do is build a food factory. Underneath food alcohol crops, we've got a food factory right here. And this thing will produce a bit of pollution. So we probably want to keep this away from our citizens if at all possible. Now, I think that we're going to place this right about here. We will need to level this first. I think that if we have a path going to the side, people should be able to walk here. And then in the front, we will have our vehicular access. So I'm going to right mouse click this, or left mouse click this rather, and hold it, and that'll flatten a pad for us. And then we'll attach a road right here as well. And now they want us to build a distillery. So a distillery is a vital facility in the Soviet Republic that converts surplus crops into valuable alcohol. Again, more pollution. So we are going to place this over here just like we did with the last one. I'm wondering though, you see that if we line this up appropriately, I should be able to have a path in between these two buildings. Reuse this drive into here. So I'll send this path right here. We'll have it meander over. And then I'll just attach this to all of our buildings. And folks should be able to walk in between all of these. Now, interestingly, I'm noticing we've got a problem with our factory. That road is not actually attached. And there we go. I just held on the right mouse button and it flattened that out, and now it looks okay. So now we need to produce 30 tons of food and 20 tons of alcohol. And it says no workers, missing resources, crops. Same thing over here. What I think I'm going to do is add another residential building over here, but I don't want to place that on our main arterial. And then I'll build one more of these residential buildings right here. And right away, everyone there starts funneling into our factory, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And we received a message saying that we could actually buy food to process here. That'll speed things along for us. Editor Phil here. And I'm realizing that I probably could have just set up a route from the farm using a couple of trucks, but I never did that, so importing it is. All right, back to it. We'll purchase resources using rubles. We'll get our warehouse about halfway full for both of these. And now, as long as we have employees here, which we are way short on employees, this should work. Now, I said that I wanted to put the factories over here because I didn't want the employees to live next to the factory, and I've made the mistake of actually placing them right there. We're just gonna have to see how that works, and I'm gonna try to place additional residential buildings. Let's try a different type of building now. This flat has 110 worker capacity. This one is 50. Let's give this one a go. That's a little bit smaller, and we can fit this in right about here. And maybe we can even fit another one right here. And then I'm going to fit one more building. We'll go for this 50 capacity building. We'll place that right about here. Now I'm going to add a couple of pedestrian connections because these buildings all have them. And there we go. Every last one of these is now connected up. I just want to double check these. We are producing food and alcohol now, but our worker numbers are still pretty low. So I think that we could ensure that we've got enough workers in here by paying some immigrants. And hopefully this now gives us more employees. Oh, it's actually improving pretty quickly. So maybe we're fine. Now, interestingly, our production has completely stopped at both of our factories. Now, if I click on this, I can see that we are not exporting anything. And I think that's because we haven't built any trucks that could do that. So I'm going to do something a little bit cheeky. And we can discard some of our resource. And I'm going to see if we can potentially get to where we need to be. All right, and after disposing of both alcohol and food, we have met our thresholds that we needed to meet. Mission accomplished, comrade. Your hard work is paid off, and the specific quotas for food and alcohol have been met. We've got to figure out how to deliver things though, and that is something that we have not learned yet. And honestly, before we do anything else within this tree, we have to figure that out. What I think we have to do is go under roads and vehicles and look at our depots. And we have this road vehicle depot. What I think we can do is add this over here, assign some cargo vehicles, and set up some cargo routes. So I'm going to place that right here in between these two factories. And then we are going to purchase some vehicles. So these are going to be the vehicles that are actually hauling the goods back and forth between our factories and our outside connections. So we want to make sure that these can carry a decent amount and move relatively quickly. And it looks to me like the T138 is a good compromise. It goes at 43 miles per hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot better than the mid 30s. And this actually carries a decent amount of cargo. What I think I'm going to do is purchase 2 of these. And then I'm also going to purchase a couple of quicker vehicles that have lower capacities, because these can take all the goods from our factories to both our store and our bar. So we'll get 2 of those as well. So now we need to set up some routes. And by clicking on the vehicle, I can begin a new route. So this is going to be our local route going back and forth between our distillery and the bar. And then I need to set what we're grabbing. We'll grab alcohol and we'll unload alcohol. And then I should be able to click start that route. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for this other vehicle. I'll send them over to our food factory, and they will go over to our grocery store, our shopping center rather. And then for this one, again, I want to set what it's transporting, because the last thing I want to do is take the corn that's there and transport that. So we've got that established, and we'll start that route. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with these larger vehicles at a new stop right here at our distillery. And this one's going to go all the way over here to our customs house. Now for this one, I think I need to be a little bit more careful. I just want to make sure that we don't take everything away. So I'm going to say load up 80% of whatever's at the distillery, and then we'll unload whatever this has at the customs house. And we'll start that route. And then we've got one more vehicle, and this one is for our food factory. And we'll again go to our customs house way over here. Same deal. We'll say 80% of the food loaded here, and we'll unload 100% of it. And we'll get that one going. Now with this, we should be able to look at both our distillery and our food factory and see that our warehouse is starting to empty out a little bit. And there we go. We see the food just clearing out there. Although I'm seeing something interesting. Got these question marks above the vehicles. And if we click on the vehicle, it says, view the area where a possible issue exists on the route. So I made a really dumb mistake. So apparently I didn't connect these roads up. So let's get this fixed. And now hopefully, now that that's built, our issue with this route will go away. It just did. So that is perfect. So with that in mind, we're now picking up from both of our factories and delivering. That means that we're going to be earning some rubles. That also means that we are going to actually be producing things here, which is outstanding. And with that, we founded the bones of a nice little Soviet republic. And it seems like this city could really be on the upswing if we continue to build on it. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I've had a lot of fun playing this game, not just in this playthrough, but in my playthroughs outside of this, where I've built on a custom map, using some of the new biomes and really experimenting with that. The game is just, it's really deep. There's a lot that you can do, a lot of customization that you can do. And it feels honestly like no other city builder that I've played before. Now this game is currently retailing for $40, but generally Hooded Horse gives sales at release, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this on sale today. Editor Phil here, and the Mad Lads went and done it. They gave us 35% off the game at release, which is outstanding. Really, what a great dev, what a great publisher. And honestly, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's definitely complex. It's definitely a different kind of city builder. The setting is definitely unique, but it's a lot of fun. This will not take the place of a game like Cities Skylines, kind of like Anno can't replace the game like Cities Skylines, but I do think that for some people, this is going to be your jam. It comes with a ton of content. Even if you don't get the Biomes DLC, the game just has a lot to it, and it's very complex. It's a lot of fun. Now, we've only scratched the surface of what this game has available. You can obviously go through and do things like ships, airplanes, cableways. There's a whole bunch of different cargo options. You can really micromanage every single aspect of your build. You can control heat systems and water pipes and electricity and waste management facilities. You can also decorate a ton, have tourists, really start to micromanage specific industries. So there's really a lot to this game. There's a lot of features that are baked right into it, and it's a really complete game right now. And I really want to thank you for joining me on this one. If you're interested in seeing me continue to build this out and work my way through the tutorial, let me know in the comments, and maybe there'll be another episode where we build on this a little bit further. But for now, we're gonna leave it here, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.